today we see really Paul Richer and as a very special personality, because it's he was a member of Academy of Science in France and Academy of Beaux-Arts. It's really something really particular. Okay, so let's see who is Paul Richer. Yep, slide.
Is it the
slide? Slide 7. Sorry. No.
I tried it. No, nothing happened.
No,
there we go.
It's good. So his name Paul Marie Louis Pierre Richer. So he was physiologist, sculptor, anatomist, etc. And diapo. And when he was well, we will see that he was with Jean-Martin Charcot. But let's see just on the childhood. So he was born in Chartres. And we know that the Cathedral of Chartres is something beautiful, amazing. And when he went to school, he passed near to Chartres. And he tells us that he was very impressed and there's a deep impact about sculpture and beautiful architecture in his soul. So really, he was fascinated by science, but because Cathedral of Chartres, he was really fascinated by art and sculpture. Diapo, slide. So he, in this street, Bois-Merin, he was the shop of his parents. So when he was a child, he was difficult, really a bad boy. He creates many problems in school, and after his parents put him in the special space, well, diapo slide. Well, so this is Cathedral of Chartres. Amazing, huh? Slide. Voilà, so he was put in Montlucon in France, so a little bit far from Chartres, to concentrate on his study. And effectively, he was a good student, and he succeeded his baccalaureate, and to study medicine. Okay. And when he entered in the medicine, he collaborates with Mark C., anatomist, and he did all illustration, beautiful illustration, the first illustration. But he was very disappointed because when the book was published, there is no name of Paul Richer. No name, no trace that he did. So he was really disappointed. So for the question, if you had the question, you can write it in the app.
I just, when you were researching anatomy, did they use dead bodies? I was just curious because
yes, anatomy. He make illustration of body and anatomical. But in the book, in the first his work, there is no notice of his name. So he decided since this time to sign all his drawing, all the PR, Paul Richer, all his drawing, to mark his work. And so when he was student at Charcot, the lesson of Tuesday, the leçon de mardi, he draw Charcot and the lesson. His sketch, amazing. And when he was a student, he's really sketch. It's amazing. Another Charcot, and this is just. So there's a small anecdote. I think, yes. The anecdote is the son of Jean-Martin Charcot. His son, his name Jean-Baptiste Charcot. Thanks to him, we have very important information about Paul Richer. Paul Richer was daltonism. Between green, he can't make a difference between green and red. So he has difficult to paint. So that's why he only draw and sculpting. So this little information, it's explained as just to explain that in the beginning of 19th century, we had in the School of Medicine the students of art and the students of medicine. And same time, they assist. Okay, diapo. And before to speak about work collaboration between Charcot and Paul Richer, it's amazing collaboration. Just a quick reminder, about academy. So we know that Plato, he created the first academy, and we know that, for example, in Rome, this is a Rome illustration about Plato, diapo. That Alberti too, he in his book he really write and work about academy. It means for formation, training of students, what course, what lesson, etc., etc. And we have to not to emphasize that in Renaissance there is a difference between a statue of artist, because art libéraux and art mécanique. So in the Renaissance, the statue of artists became liberal, become important with the mathematics, with science, with anatomy. Okay, it's not like a craftsman, normal craftsman. Okay, and the Academy of France, they are inspired by Academy of Italy, San Luca and Deserno, Rome and Florence. And Vasari, the great historian of art, he explained us that Academy del Disegno and San Luca, all their philosophy of pedagogical training is about human body and also anatomy. Okay? And just to notice that in 17th century, this is Rembrandt, the center. And apparently, Descartes was present while this dissection.
Oh.
Yes, he was as a spectator because he wrote about this dissection. And just to show that dissection were a good subject, a good practice in 17th century. And the Academy, l'Académie Royale de la Peinture et Sculpture, Royal Academy of France, in 1648, so 17th century. Diapo. Voilà, c'est l'Académie de Royale de Peinture. So the king decide, it's his mother, because the king was a child, that we are creating a huge academy to show that France has art, that France has a slide. But so the king was his mother, and the king of Austria. So and with Charles Lebrun is a great artist, French artist. He was an academy, and he was the first who make this creation of academy possible. Okay. And there is we have to notice something very important. The living model, like here, it was monopoly, only academy of. It's forbidden that another studio, another atelier practice living model. It's really it's a special. Okay, diapo. And quickly. I promised to you the last time that I will give you the name of all professors since the creation of academy. Donc the first one is Quadrout. François, he was a medicine surgeon, and but his lesson doesn't impress the students because it's very medical, very cadaveric skill. So Diapo, this is first one, and after him, the academy decide to invite an artist to give a lesson. But this artist, this time, century hadn't the genius of pedagogical artist. Okay, so he only worked on the bones, no muscles. So he lacked really the knowledge of anatomy. So something, and after him, slide, we Trippier, but we haven't many information about Trippier. So he wasn't a big genius professor of anatomy. So we haven't many information about him. And Soro, another searcher, he tried to study muscles, veins, tendon, and the academy, and but the academy wasn't agree with his pedagogy. So the academy tried to make away anatomy and only living model, only nude. Okay, and the dynasty of Su, there is a father and there is a son. The father, he really make a revolution about teaching anatomy. He knew how to find this magical thing between anatomy, cadaver, and living model. And students appreciate his lessons, and he give trust to academy to accept anatomy and academy. Therefore, thank you. His book, okay. He made many things, and he was also interested by anatomy, and Descartes and l'homme machine, human being, etc. So, and when Joseph Su, when he knew that he will retire, he presented his son. He was also medicine, and he assist him in his process. So he judged that he can be the best professor to simulate. He's entre parenthèses this little affirmation that even the cadaver, the corpses, which was only male, not woman, and the living model, the model only men in the École. That was forbidden in academy. They judged because the male has the muscles we can see, not fat, etc. Just we have to slide. And Joseph Su, so the father present his son, and he was accepted. And of course, Jacques Louis David, the huge, great the master of classicism in France. Jacques Louis David, he was in academy, so he was really opposite about the pedagogy in academy. So he suppressed academy. He decided to stop academy. It's what, but the professor and the students were against this decision, and they create with the same professor, with the same students, in the Louvre, École de Dessin, School of Drawing, and which become after École des Beaux-Arts and etc. So first of all, and after they came, I don't know, Paris, Paris, the Pont des Arts. And Pont des Arts, we have this Institut de France. So the École du Dessin, School of Drawing, were here, this beautiful building. And before to go Saint Augustin, the actual place. So, voilà. And after it's come here. Okay, here. So the Rue Bonaparte, Quai Malaquais in Paris. Yacoub. And just after with Su, he changed the pedagogical because the anatomy had a minimal inferior place and not very important. But with the dynasty Sue, they show that anatomy can be very important and to give this intellectual level. Okay, yeah, cool. And the grandson. So there is Sue, father, Sue son, and the grandson. But he presents him, but the academy there was against to have a heritage about, so they stopped. And slide. And we have Jerdy didn't he didn't succeed to be professor, but unfortunately, because Jerdy his book is amazing, and you remember the tibia here with fasciolata and tuberosity of Jerdy, thanks to him. Tuberosity here, and tuberosity of Jerdy. He was really a genius, but and politic, instead to propose him to be successor of his Sue, they chose another slide, Emery. We have not portrait, only his signature. So I put the signature of Emery. But Emery wasn't very important. He didn't like Jerdy, unfortunately. And Robert also, we have a photo. Robert is another surgeon, but his pedagogical skill wasn't very important. And we have Huguier. He, thanks to him, we have now, today, a beautiful gallery at École des Beaux-Arts de Paris, department. So Huguier, and till today we have this inscription of Huguier. He decided to create a gallery with some pieces very precious, and we will see an amazing story with Descartes. So we have I think if you go to Paris, you can access this gallery. You can ask a request and you can visit. Okay, the gallery. It's amazing. And we have Houdon, because Houdon, the original is here. The original one, it's at the gallery. Just amazing. And we can see here lower lamp. Okay, gallery. And after there is a war. Okay, the war and at gallery department of anatomy, and we make dissection of artists and students who were in the war, and it's open really to to real dissection to. Okay, this is department of morphology in 1960, and it doesn't really change. It's amazing. We spent some art. Okay, yeah. And now, before to return to Paris, we have Mathias Duval. So Mathias Duval were a student, disciple of Charcot, with Freud also here, and with Paul Richer. Okay, Diapo. So Mathias Duval, and at the gallery, I worked here when I prepared my thesis in this table. And so Diapo. And of course, Charcot, we saw that the first part of this lecture was a huge personage. He impacted Freud, all genius about neuropsychology, okay, Sabatia. Diapo. And for example, between Mathias Duval is here, okay? But Paul Richer is just behind with always a pen. So just to see, because in painting there's a language of importance of personality, and Paul Richer is just behind, so we can see how Charcot, when he saw the first time his drawing, he decided to be a principal drawer artist in Salpêtrière. He was really impressed by the quality as an artist. And so all the books that he wrote, he prepared, It's with Paul Richer. D'accord? Okay, d'accord. D'accord. And all subjects of history and this is sculpture of Paul Richer. Can you imagine that?
Sculpture.
So it's Parkinson, so it's subjects, and they notice the contraction of muscles and on position, so position, etc. But it's really beautiful. It's amazing. So we have here a beautiful example between conjugate between art and science and art. I told you in the beginning that Paul Richer was member of Academy in Science, Academy in Beaux-Arts. It's the first time. Just amazing. That's why he's a real genius in France. It's another view because it's an amazing piece of art. Face expression must only. D'accord? Voilà, it's a job of Paul Richer. D'accord? The movement. You can see here that it's too white. Okay, D'accord? The original is amazing. All the movements. D'accord? Forgeron, that's it. This part is amazing. D'accord? Another movement. That is quick and just a sketch. D'accord? Another light. Voilà. Beautiful. It's a Paul Richer. D'accord? Another portrait. D'accord? And here the study of morphology, the woman body. Normally we have to see it's a really very exposed light, but we have to see the pelvis. Okay, Diabo. Diabo. And wonderful. Diabo. So the geometric work of like Leonardo da Vinci, like Durer, he created ergonomy of the 20th century. So he worked about measuring woman, man, handle and to study how. Yeah, slide. All notice and with the tools with the slide. The tools of poetry that he created. A mouse. All this. This is amazing. And just to explain that the term morphology at the beginning it was for biology and with poetry, because it's from etymology from Greece, ancient Greece. Morphology, it means form. In etymology, morphe, it means form. Morphology, study of form. And Poruchet decided to call the courses of the lesson of the science of an artistic anatomy, morphology of the human body. So it's not anatomy dissection who is important, but to understand the form and the shapes from inside to us. And he see that morphology is the term appropriate for this discipline. So, but the department we talk always we still talk at artistic anatomy, and we see that De Boer in 1968 he decided to give a new name, morphology of the human body. Now it's morphology du corps humain. That's thanks to De Boer. Okay. This is an amazing sculptor of Paul Richer who represent the beauty from Greece, ancient Greek, Renaissance, and the 19th century. Three Venus, and just amazing. It's Paul Boucher, a doctor, a medicine, not art. So, okay, Diaco. And 1903, what always see before he became professor, and after Mathias Duval. Mathieu Duval has an assistant whose name is Écuyer, but the genius Paul Richer succeed to have it because everyone, Jacques Martin Charcot, Duval recognized the genius of Paul Richer. So naturally he became professor at Beaux-Arts in slide. And in École des Beaux-Arts, he really expressed himself. He had a special space, mental space, to express human body, the movement, etc., etc. All these sculptures, is Polish sculpture. Just
Are they marble?
no, it's I think it's the moulage. He make original and he slide. Look, the expression, the movement. This is the football, so sport, and he tries to understand not only artistically but scientifically, physiologically, how it's working, etc. Diapo. Just amazing. And we have 100 sculptures of Polish. And the majority at the gallery. One. Amazing. Diapo.
So these are plaster?
Huh?
What
is
material?
sculpture- What is it made out of? The sculpture?
Material.
Il te demande de quel, si c'est du marbre ou du plâtre.
He with the
Right.
with the clay.
Clay in their
And
cast.
after there is moulage with the plaster and
Plaster.
slide. So with décoché.
Are they life
Just
size?
amazing.
Are they life size or?
No, this is small one.
They're
We
small.
haven't small.
Hmm.
Slide. So now I want to tell you a little story, but amazing story about Descartes. And they're related with Oriche. We will see how. Do you know how Descartes was died? The death of Descartes. So, slide. The king of Stockholm, the queen, that's it, she called herself the queen. She asked Descartes to come give her some lessons, okay, in Stockholm. But bizarrely, that's why she is bizarre. At 5 o'clock, in one room, very cold room. It was winter and really freezing. And he had pneumonia. And he died. Descartes, the genius. So that's why we can't understand why in the room, in the cold room, in winter, without. And he had pneumonia, and he gave her lessons at 5 o'clock in the morning, but the story what after the France, because he's a French philosopher, he want to repatriate, come back his body, his corpses. We find the corpses, but without head. Slide. Where is the head? And everybody look for where is the head of Descartes. It's amazing. So slide. So we find a skull of Descartes. Voilà. Here Cuvier, you know the great anatomist Cuvier. Thanks to him, so Jacob the chemist gave to, because he was a passionate anatomist, he gave him the skull of Descartes. Slide. And all scientific were impressed, curious about the skull of Descartes to understand how it constructs, what the mystery of Descartes, etc., etc. But the question, it is the real skull of Descartes.
Yeah.
Really, everybody. How can we be sure that it's the skull of Descartes? And the question came to the Academy of Science. And the Academy decide, Minerva, you will like that, decide to polish the skull, and to make the research, and to decide if really so. Slide. This is the skull of Descartes. And so the Academy asked Paul Richer to make his research, to see the weight of the trust of Paul Richer in the École. So, and he took the portrait that we see of Franz Hals, and he put the
Superimposed.
the skull in the drawing after, and he make the slide, and he make sculpture from the painting, and he put and try to with measure. Really, for 1 year he works about this, and all this sculpture in Gallery of Beaux-Arts. We can see it. You can see it. Slide. Voilà, to the final work. Puff, puff. Slide. And slide. Ah, no, before. Sorry. And to conclusion, Paul Richer say that very possibly it is a real skull of Descartes, because we correspond of painting, and Franz Hals, as you know, is a very, very good painter, a really good sight, good observation. Okay, slide. So before he died, he wrote this wonderful, the nude in the art of Paul Richer. Okay, Paul Richer. Now it's with the photography and the chronophotography. Photography and chronophotography. And this invention, of course, it was very useful, very important for him to continue his study. He didn't deny the power of photography. So he used the photography. This is a autoportrait of the hand of Paul Richer. Yeah. Here, la physiology artistic. Sorry for the color, Diapo. What is okay, so Georges de Bruni was the photographer with Albert Long too. They made amazing work with the Paul Richer and Mathias Duval too. And they create la station physiologique, And unfortunately, slide, Duchesne de Boulogne. Just and quote and bit to anecdote, a small anecdote, small story, that this station, physiological station, was very important for me. It's said because they destroyed to contract actual Roland Garros. Roland Garros, to build tennis, Paris. They destroyed the station physiologique to build that. So Duchesne de Boulogne, who was also a neurologist with electricity, he he searched the expression of body. So voilà. Diapo. Paul Richer with Dermeny and Albert Long. All the work, 100,000 photographs. It's just amazing to understand. Diapo. All. And after Paul Richer study each photography with drawing, we draw it again and to understand, to analyze, to synthesize, etc. Diapo. With movement. And we can see, for example, the book of Paul Richer. We have this model drawing. I don't know if you Diapo. 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 With torsion. This sorry. this model helped a lot Paul Richer with his books, with his okay, diapo. Oh, have to see the gallery diapo. He studied with the shows, with the talon. You see this curve. See, it's more accentuated here because diapo. We have the model and the sculptor. You see, diapo, diapo. Contortionist, amazing, diapo. And of course, I don't know if do you know the story? For example, Muybridge. Muybridge, he was an artist, photographer, and there is a huge businessman in California who loved the horses. And
Stanford, yeah.
Yes, Stanford, exactly, Stanford. And he looks for when the troll of the horse, if his path were in the air or in the soil. And he created the famous photography of and after Muybridge heard about the work of Marie and Marie about, they meet each other and they came to Beaux-Arts too, even Muybridge, with Paul Richer, and to share their knowledge, their results. Okay. And there is a painting of Jericho. I don't know if you know it. So here, for example, all part in the air. So we had the proof that the troll we can, thanks to photography. So Jericho, and for example here, this movement, it is impossible. It's impossible because physiologically, mathematically, if we have this hair and the hair, the horse will.
Could pop.
It must be here. So, but Rodin, he said that Jericho was right. Why? Because he mixed the 3 times of photography in one painting, and you have movement, you have speed, and it's beautiful. It's about time too. So it was really fashion to speak about movement, about life, about. Okay. So this we study the movement of the human body, and the epoch it was very important, very fascinating. Diapo, also, and you know, chronophotography is the birth of cartoon animation. Animation, Walt Disney and other, they inspired by the work of Muybridge and Marais. Okay, diapo. And we see when it's the movement low, we have a big distance. When it's speed, small distance. It's a principle of animation. Slide, first 2. Slide, football. Slide, boxing. It's Muybridge. Okay, slide. And this man and woman and work with Paul Richer, they inspired Marcel Duchamp, Nu, the sun stairs. Okay? This painting is Marcel Duchamp inspired by this woman. Exactly this woman. So Paul Richer, he makes study, and after Marcel Duchamp, he did this. He did say, but the number 2 is the best one. Okay, for slide. And even the study is the form of the body to understand the movement, how to slide. Francis Bacon, he also was inspired by work of Paul Richer, Muybridge, and so art and science. Okay, and first I love Francis Bacon. Okay, slide. And Paul Richer, of course, he died in he lived in 33. He died in 33, so, but he was the first professor who lived old, 84 years. So really, And he became inspector when he took his retreat of drawing education. So this is Beaux-Arts, okay. So on Rue Bonaparte, 6e arrondissement Paris, in front of les deux académies, a small coffee, and we call it Odozaka. We go Odozaka? We go to Odozaka. Just for me, it's very important because when we finish the classes with Philippe Comar and Debord and François Fontaine, with students, we came here for 1.5 hour to take coffee, beer to relax, and so it's coffee part of history of morphology of the human body. And I have a huge souvenir. It's a small cup. Diapo, à la School de Engineering of Beaux-Arts. Diapo. Just beautiful. And here we have a department of morphology. Diapo. Accordingly, all the fashion, they rent here. If Saint Laurent also, it's very, and the school can have makes money to rent this to fashion. All start in the world, in New York too, go there to fashion. And so after Paul Richer, but now here just the names. It's Henri Mage, and a student, it's a drawing of students of Henri Mage, Diapo, and Paul Beric. It was the second artist for us. We saw the fruit, and after, and the second one, who was artist Paul Beric, and I love. He had a beautiful book, and he is a good drawer, really. Paul Lecoeur, it's the teacher of Debord. Debord, he was assistant of Lecoeur. He came always with the down. Okay, it was a better too. And my teacher, my professor, Debord. Just so Debord, I was student for 6 years, and I was assistant with him and François Fontaine in Paris for 2 years. And he did 2 major things. First one, he changed the name, instead artistic anatomy to morphology. And he stopped dissection in 74. Because even it were rare, but still exists dissection and the Beaux-Arts. But until he decided that we don't need the dissection, we have to learn from life, we have all notion, all books, all. And after when I went to university to work my thesis, he was the second. There is a director de recherche, and the second one is Debord. So he worked with me another 8 years. So I was his student for 16 years. Can you imagine that? And for me, he's a genius too, really. And instead of course we have Baudet, but he called the dancer, the actor, the sportman. Really, he was really smart, real artist. Slide. And François Fontaine, I worked with him very often. And I lived in some months when I was poor student in his house, and he's a huge artist also. And slide. And also Philippe Comar. So Philippe Comar, he is now the head of Department of Anatomy. He is my friend, my professor today, and he is also a great artist. He has his works and Beaubourg, at Beaubourg. He wrote 15 books about art, philosophy, and he is a real genius. And Minerva. And he wrote also for me the letter of recommendation. Yes, I told you, Philippe Comar. So I really appreciate this person. He's a friend and my professor, and I'm proud of him that I met him. I was his student. And, okay. So now with silence, we will just to see. I mix. little collection of work of Paul Richer. Just to see, okay. Vas-y. Every 3 seconds. Stop. I love this, the last one. You can see it in the Jardin des Plantes, the zoo of Paris. It's the same sculpture. That's with photograph, that's in reality. For me, it's like Michelangelo. It's just amazing. So, it's beautiful. So, what? And now today, this the department continue with new generation. So most of School of Arts, of Beaux-Arts, Fine Arts in the world condemn the nude and artistic anatomy. Only Beaux-Arts of Paris stay infidel, trust and this knowledge. Even with the contemporary art, etc., we respect tradition and continue to study human body. Voilà. Doesn't change. Okay. This is my nice, you know, stenope. Stenope. You know, photography. You can make your box.
Okay, box.
So we have a lesson about to construct your box, and I did it's my
You mean
of
pinhole
department.
photography? You mean pinhole photography or holography?
No, photography. Photography. It's called stenope.
Oh, stenope.
Stenope. Yes, you can fabricate. You can do it by yourself. Just some simple calculation. Slide, and it's me, and the model with my painting, and slide. Me preparing when I was assistant and École des Beaux-Arts of Paris. Slide, voilà, with the and the same department. You see the blackboard, etc. Slide, and we're preparing my final, my diploma, my degree. I have my space. And here, before to go to university, I was very interested about phenomenology because I saw that we study massage, movement, etc. But we don't think about the miracle of body and a body as a phenomenon. Am I a body or I have a body? So I see that it's very important to add phenomenology to these courses. We can practice body and reflect about body because it's my body. So I create slide phenomorphology. It's article from Morocco, a new school of thought created by Said Bouftass. Voilà, so, and I wrote a book where I explained my idea, pedagogical, why, and that's why I am in the United States to share my research. So, slide. So, with Philippe Comar, he just wrote his book about Lucien Freud, and me based on observation, and we changed. He offered me mine and his, and I offered him mine, and it's a restaurant Bonaparte at not far from school, and I'm proud to be friend student of Philippe Comar, and I promise to you, Minerva, that I will invite him, and he will come here. Okay? Yes, soon, 2019. He will come here in New York to see me, and he will come here. Okay. So, my professor, eternal professor, Jean-François Debord, here when I had my thesis, when I just finished, and I have it with the honors, okay? And I'm proud of this. And I want to dedicate this photo to three friends of mine. It's, we are friends from 30 years, 30 ans. So Anne Salazin always trusted in my work, and they encourage me. She's an artist, and especially engraving, and she can offer a workshop of engraving. It's amazing. François Lasky, he's owner veterinary clinic in Saint-Nazaire in France. He's artist too, scientist, and he's like my brother. And Agnès is an amazing architect. And Agnès and Anne, they have a beautiful project this summer in Senegal. Well, I wanted to dedicate this lecture to them. And of course, slide. Thank you, Minerva. Thank you so much for your generosity, for your humanity, and I am honored to have this opportunity to share with you my passion. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. So, do you have a question? Yes, Greta.
Thank you so much. It was so enlightening and beautiful, and thank you for your time and your patience putting it all together. I really appreciate it. I'm so lucky I didn't know what was happening today. So thank you. And just notice, irksome, every man was the head forever. When did they allow the females to be sketched? When did females allow, historically, to be in the class? Those are my two questions. If you don't know the answer, I'd be very curious to know.
Yes.
And then the other thing, in 1936, Leni Riefenstahl did Olympia and she had to have been influenced by those horse studies, etc., because she invented cameras that were placed beneath the eye level and beneath the, in a trough, in other words, to capture the vaulting men and everything. So she had to have known about those photographs of the horse and of the, of all that. I mean, it was like, it wasn't just, what I'm saying is, this school had to have had a huge impact as it was happening. You know what I mean?
Murray and Margaret were outside of the school, and Richer was within the school.
No, right, that's what I'm saying. And then I love that, I'm just saying, you had the shop and everything, so it had to be
1900s.
Really elastic, in many ways. So I was just, would be interesting to know, how publications occurred, and it's just fascinating. So I don't know. But anyways, men. So I was like,
you're right.
Yeah.
Well, there is an assistant director now who's a woman who studied with you, right? One of Kumar's assistant directors.
Yeah. She was studying students with me. Yeah.
Life has changed, but I'm just saying, do you happen to know when women were allowed to put their easels in and draw? I'm just curious.
Yeah. No,
So if
today
you can find out, let me know.
It should be in that book.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. For this lecture, I showed really the protagonist,
Yeah.
the chief of the
Sure.
family. Yeah. But Philippe Comar, he has an assistant woman.
Mhm.
She was a student in same atelier as me, Valérie Saunier. So the first question, well,
Because you were very specific about the anatomy, about
Well, we do know that
only
Richet-
men were there.
No, wait, but Richet did, in 1920, he did the book Morphology de la Femme. In 1920,
Yeah.
he decided that all anatomies were deficient in women, so he took all of his, a lot of those drawings were from the 1920s
Ah, very
book, but that's where he had women models, obviously, but the question of when did women enter the academy? Like, that's a question I don't know either. They were there when you were there.
In 19th century, Cuillère, the assistant of Mathias Duval, had a course special for women because the women they didn't allowed to be students at École des Beaux-Arts. But in the beginning of 20th century, they become to be students, but not often not as a man because the history changed. But today we have more women, more female than men. Today they change, but gradually you know the story. The women take freedom and independence, etc. But in the beginning of the 20th century, it was very difficult. Really, the man was sure that he is better than superior than the woman. Yes.
Well, it was also-
needs time.
There wasn't that much birth control, or that much, the women were left at home. But we have a parallel history in America with Thomas Aikens having taught women and getting into trouble because he believed in total nudity and things like that. And we have usually, there's even some history of women going to study art with their matron or their chaperone, and the chaperone would sit while the woman would be studying. I think even in France at the late 1800s, the woman was not allowed to go out without a chaperone with an older woman or someone protecting her. And we still, some places in the world, the woman can't walk alone anyway, even now.
Yeah, even now.
And not, remember, there's a letter very important in 19th century at the academy that the student had only men as a model. And they wrote, the student request to director to academy to ask for women.
Yeah.
And well, I have this group, but it was difficult.
But even the Century Club, where many of our models work, only allowed women to be members during Jean Marcelino's lifetime in the last 20 years or so. The Century Club was for men only, and then at some point they allowed women to join. Private clubs have remained. There's a tremendous need for a history, perhaps you'll write it, of the inclusion of women into the world of nude figure drawing as participants who draw. Certainly there were always nude female models in the 19th century, am I wrong? I mean, Delacroix, all those men hired privately or had privately people who posed for them. It's the institutions that didn't necessarily study the women as much or whatever,
But really, you give me a beautiful idea, I think. I can work this lecture, but about the place, the role of the woman. So it's the same thing, but I focus about the role,
Because it also brings up, Madame Curie, and it's just like all these different things where women were able to get inside that moment of discovery where they just couldn't keep them out. You know what I mean? And so,
No, it's
well,
very
usually it was
interesting.
the richer, more upper class, moneyed women who were allowed to become the women who made the art. And
Interesting.
that would be another interesting thing.
Yeah.
When did a working class woman or any woman get a chance? And even when did working class men get a chance? Or in America, after the Second World War, that whole business of education in the colleges, working class men from the army, the whole abstract expressionist idea had to do with the common American man taking over the field of art and expanding the ideas within art. And that would be a nice one too.
Yes,
I mean, the men don't all get all the prizes. It's the men at the top who get everything.
Yeah.
The men at the bottom have to suffer too, and they.
Yeah, no.
And of
And,
course, when the women come in, also the men at the bottom suffer. I don't want to be too much. I do think feminists should look at the fact that not all, I'm a little bit opposed to every single thing being 50-50 because everybody needs to have a chance, whatever, and value and things that are beautifully made or serious should be taken into consideration in a society, not just whether someone's a male, female, transgender, hermaphrodite, whatever. We need to value the culture as it's expressed, rather than going off to deep end politically.
Right.
But of course, that'll get me into trouble.
No, for all
So
of
the
us.
art,
Yeah.
the study of arts can reveal the sociological life of the
Yes, the art can reveal that.
Yeah.
And just to finish, I want just to emphasize my struggling with I'm living now a double censure. For example, for my country, for Arabic Muslim, it's forbidden to draw nude. It's forbidden to have a nude at school or at you risk to go to prison. It's forbidden. And so I worked in France, Germany, Spain, and the United States. And now I'm living another censure, but it's paradoxal. It's most of school of fine arts, they condemn the nude. They said it's academic. So the first condemnation, it was about sociological scale. Now, because contemporary art or intellectual art, so we banned with forbidden the nude at the academy, at the School of Arts. Because now we have to do like the contemporary art. It's not necessary to know how to draw.
Yes.
It's only idea to create.
Yes.
And for me, the first condition of artist, the artist can see things that human common people can't see, and the artist can help you to tell you, did you see that? Oh, it's amazing. This is the artist. The artist give us the light in our life. So the first exercise to educate our others, the first thing they were humble, very human. The first condition for me of an artist is humanity. So this double censure, I resist, I struggle. That's why again, I'm honored and very happy to meet Minerva because she had this treasure and bravo and really bravo.
You showed, thank you, first of all, this is really fascinating.
Thank you.
You showed two images that had someone with a disability, one on crutches and one on, and I believe you said that Paul Shape had Parkinson's?
Yes.
He sculpted someone?
Yeah, the woman sculpted, yes.
So I was wondering if there were source of images in this, with this theme in mind, and the reason I'm interested in this is that there's an exhibit on at the Cooper Hewitt Museum called Access Plus Ability, and there are insoles that vibrate for someone with Parkinson's, so they know exactly where they're stepping, and other products like this. And so I'm just interested in how often people dealing with illness or disability were depicted. Did that come up very often, or?
What interested me about the work of Charcot and Paul Richer, that's in science, the first condition is observation of the subject. And the best way to observe, to draw and sculpt it. Because when I draw something, I take time and I really see deeply. And so when I can see, I can understand, I can notice, I can make observation. So it helped me as so this interaction between art and science interesting. But I'm not medicine. I haven't knowledge about the Parkinson, the illness.
It's just very interesting because I did some research for that exhibit, and no, not that one, the one called The Senses Beyond Vision, which is also at the Cooper Hewitt. And it got me to thinking about movement. For instance, if you're at an ATM machine and there's a guard for privacy, and that affects what kind of movement you can make to, say, hit the enter key. And it seems like this study of morphology is related in some way, because I guess one could draw and observe the kind of movement, whether it's a beautiful movement, if looked at from an animation perspective, and just what exactly the hand is doing. This is different from, say, Degas. It's a different focus.
Can I just say that Charcot studies were the beginnings of neurology. Do we have a neurologist here? No, we don't have a neurologist here. Then the study of the brain and what the brain does, and through the study of illness of the brain and the nervous system, and through the morphology of the body and the way the body responds under Parkinson is what they called hysteria at the time. So from the time of Charcot until today, you've had millions of doctors and scientists studying these effects of the brain, and the father of it all is Charcot.
Yeah, because what's amazing in Charcot, it's the first time this obscurity, they make a light, he experienced it, because many of his confrères, the other medicine, they mocking him, because they didn't understand what
because he wasn't like Degas.
Yeah, he's the first one.
Oh, no, not
And
the
he was
because he was
student
exploring
of Charcot.
Right.
So because there is illness of body and the mind, and this interaction. That's why. And Rubens, for example, who paints many women obsessed or men, they study the painting and art with the publisher. So they make this interaction between art and science to understand some new subjects, and they discover. Thanks to Charcot, they open a huge space for science.
Yeah, NYU had a show, the Gray Gallery, of this artist. Well, he's a scientist who studied under the skin, the nerve endings and all of that. He drew all that.
Yeah.
At NYU.
Oh, that
so
neurologist.
Yeah.
The Spanish neurologist.
Yeah.
You know who he is.
Yeah.
Was it just on now, or is it still on?
I mean, all the details that
Yeah.
the whole
I don't know if you know
manuscript.
about that, but he was.
But that's where they're showing art and science combined recently.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering, during the time of the dissection, were the art students and the medical students together, were they part of the lecture together in observing the dissection? Were the artists and the medical students together at the time that the lectures were happening for dissection?
Yeah, in the beginning of 19th century, in the academy, there was both. But because there is many subjects in dissection. But when it's time to study muscles, bones, tendons, we have students of Beaux-Arts and students of medicine, because it's same subjects. But when we dissect head or interior, it's only medicine. And also because it was not complete anatomy. We discover every time something, and so that. But when in the end of 18th century, when anatomy was complete, so the artist took anatomy and they make it artistic anatomy. So they didn't need it. And in 17th century, we discover a microscope. So we went to the cell, to the everything was small and microcosm, etc.
Very interesting, thank you.
So thank you so much.
You don't
Well,
Thank you. Thank you for. Yeah. Thank you.
you know, my doctor.